Alright, Algebra 2, here's our last video for section 2.3. We're going to be covering the standard form of the linear equation. Okay, so far we've covered the slope-intercept form. Here's another one we can do, or we can use. Standard form. So note that here is our standard form, ax plus by equals c. And note that there's conditions on the coefficients a and b. A and B are integers, and actually it's A, B, and C. All of them are integers. And then there's one more requirement on A and B. They're not both 0. And what that means is that A can be 0, but B can't be 0. Or A can't be 0, but B can be, right? Only one of them is allowed to be 0 at a time. So either they're both non-zero or only one of them is 0. They both can't be 0 at the same time. Otherwise, you don't have any variables, right? So then let's go ahead and see how we can use this standard form to graph linear equations. Okay, so let's try that with A. So I have the standard form of the line, and technically what I could do is I could get this into slope-intercept form by solving for y. Okay, if I solve for y, if I subtract over the 5x and divide by -2, I get slope-intercept form. And I can actually just show you that just for clarity's sake. We can subtract 5x over. We get -2y is equal to 10 minus 5x. And if we divide both sides by -2, that means divide everything by -2. We get y is equal to 10 divided by -2 is -5. -5 divided by -2 is positive 5 halves x. And we can use the y-intercept, so start at -5, and then use the slope, up 5 over 2, up 5 over 2, to graph the line. But now what if we wanted to use the standard form directly from there? Well, what we could do is we can find our x and y intercepts using the standard form. Okay, how do we do that? Well, let's start with our x-intercept. Okay, our x-intercept, that's when the line crosses the x-axis. So that means our y value is 0 for the x-intercept. Well, in that case, that means that I can plug in 0 for y. What happens then? Well, this goes to 0, so I'm left with 5x equals 10. When I divide by 5, I get x is equal to 2. Okay, so there is our x-intercept. Our x-intercept is 2, 0. We can do the same thing with the y-intercept. Okay, you already should know what the y-intercept is because you found it up here. It's -5, but let's do the same approach. With our y-intercept, that's where it crosses the y-axis, so that means we can substitute 0 in for x this time. Okay, so 5 times 0 minus 2y equals 10. So 2y equals 10, which means negative. I got ahead of myself. -2y equals 10. Divide over the -2. I get y is equal to -5. Okay? So then my y-intercept is 0, -5, the ordered pair of the y-intercept. So then I can graph that, and I kind of ran out of room. But actually, I'm just going to, what we're going to do is I'm going to graph this on this side, and then I'm going to let you try out B. Okay, so, and we're going to have a y-intercept down there, so we're going to want to give enough room there. Okay, so we have an x-intercept of 2. Right here, and a y-intercept of -5, and then we just connect those two dots. Okay, so the idea of graphing with standard form is you're finding the x and y intercept, and then that's enough to graph the line. You only ever need 2 points to graph the line. Either 2 points or a point and a slope. Okay, that's how we can graph a linear equation, either using 2 points or a point and the slope. Okay, so with that information, go ahead and try part B on your own, and then and do that at the end, because let's go ahead and talk about these last two, part C and part D. Okay, some of the lines that we haven't really talked about too much in terms of how to graph are our vertical and horizontal lines. Okay, so let's look at y equals 2. That one's a little hard because we're not given, well, it looks like we're not given a slope or a y-intercept. But note that I can rewrite this as 0x plus 2 because my 2 is positive. So my slope is 0 and my y-intercept is 2. What does that look like when we graph it? Okay, I know my y-intercept is 2. But what does it mean for my slope to be 0? That means I go up 0. My rise is 0, but then my run is forever, right? So that means I get a horizontal line because I'm not rising at all. I'm only running. Okay, another way to interpret this y equals 2 is that x can be whatever it wants to be, but y has to be 2. So notice that x runs freely, left and right, because x is left and right, horizontal values, as long as y stays at 2. It's going to be the same idea for D, which is a little harder because I cannot rewrite this as this over here, because it says x equals -5. But let's use that same reasoning we just talked about. Okay, let's go over to -5 on my x-axis. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, negative. My x has to be -5, but then because there's no y variable attached, y can be free. Y can be whatever it wants to be. So because y can be whatever it wants to be, it can be any of these up and down vertical values where x is equal to -5. Okay, so moral of the story is whenever you just see y equals a constant, that's a horizontal line. And whenever you see x equals a constant, that's a vertical line. Okay? All right, go ahead and maybe take a look at the practice set that we'll be doing tomorrow, and then make sure you go back and complete any of the examples that I assigned to you from any of the previous 2 videos, including this one. Okay?